Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to Andertons TV. I have discovered that if I press the Command D button on the back of Digital John, I can reset him into Atari mode.
80s mode.
80s
Yeah.
Atari mode.
Digital John.
And yes, today, with background hum and everything, John and I thought we would deep dive into the world of 80s guitar sounds because,
One of these.
let's be honest with you,
It's
they were
great.
so good, right?
It's all the Stranger Things stuff happening at the minute. 80s is back.
It is.
In full force. It was back and then it's back again, it seems. But,
And I kind of think 80s was a real melting pot of, pop went in a certain way with electronica.
Yeah.
Blues rock kind of was, you were still able to have a top 10 hit as Eric Clapton or Dire Straits
Yeah.
or that kind of thing. And of course, the virtuoso metal thing
That's it.
kind of
Yeah.
really evolved from, I guess, Hendrix in the 60s into sort of the Jimmy Page kind of thing in the sort of 70s. Van Halen, Steve Vai towards the end of the 70s, I suppose.
Yep.
And then the 80s just bombarded us with crazy virtuoso players.
Yeah. I don't think there'll ever be. I mean, there are some guys at the minute like Corey Wong and guys like that, even Tim Henson, that are like,
Yeah.
I don't want to say pop like musicians, but they're
Yeah.
like prominent.
Yeah.
But in the 80s, like, I don't think they'll, I mean, I hope there will be, but I don't think there'll ever be like a Satriani, Vai popularity again.
It's the main, you're completely right. There are virtuoso players out there now. I mean, we look at Rabir, Tosin Abasi.
Absolutely.
But when there isn't I don't know, where are Bring Me the Horizon and all this kind of thing? Because I kind of sit there thinking, they're still semi-mainstream. But where are Motley Crue, Whitesnake, Bon Jovi?
Yeah.
The list could go
Poison.
on, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Poison, Iron Maiden. These were like everybody knew who they were in the 80s.
Get away with bandanas without people going at you.
And we were just saying before we started, it was like I think we almost owe a debt of gratitude to Steel Panther for sort of, going like for 20 odd years now going, look, this music was amazing. And yes, it's a bit tongue in cheek with the Steel Panther thing, but I almost feel it's like got to the point in the last 2 or 3 years, especially this year, where people are just going, it was epic. Guns N' Roses, all those millions of bands, weren't
they're
there?
doing a great, massive tour at the minute. So anyway,
So
still alive.
We kind of went, look, they didn't have anything like the selection of gear back then that we have now, and everything seemed to sort of have a JCM 800 at its heart. We've taken the studio version of the JCM 800, which is essentially like a lower wattage version of the big one, but it's very much the same kind of preamp tone. We've gone, what might someone have had plugged into the front of it? So we've gone the Maxon OD9, which is the sort of the closest reissue we can get to like a TS9 Tube Screamer kind of vibe. We've got a Boss EQ pedal. I kind of feel like that was a thing. We've gone Phase 90 and Dynacomp. Phase 90, I almost wonder if that's a little bit too Van Halen-y, whatever.
That means it's right though.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And then through the effects loop, we've gone a Strymon Dig, which is their sort of 80s digital delay. We've got the TC Stereo Chorus. I can't even remember what the name of this one is now. Stereo Chorus Plus, I think. But this is the one that you can get the C3PO version, which is the limited edition one, or just the regular black one. And then we've just got some plate reverb coming from the Golden Reverberator from UAFX. if I kind of switch everything off, and we've not even talked about the guitars yet, but we will do in a minute. So if I switch everything off, you've got this kind of not that driven JCM 800 tone. You like it scooped, don't you? So we'll play around with that as well. So a little bit of mid-range scoopage. Hopefully you can see a close-up here. And it's pretty loud in here, but it's certainly nowhere near as loud as the thing could go. Into a 4x12, obviously. Give us a...
So yeah, this is almost flat, really, isn't it?
But still, again, if you choose a position 2 type or position 4 position and play and just pick softer. Anyway, and then we're layering up to get all these kind of the sounds of the 80s. And we thought we'd just grab some of the guitars that maybe started to emerge again in the 80s. We might as well start with this because, you know, this is a good question. Everybody, obviously, through the 70s would have just had plain old Fender Strats.
Yep.
And then guitar players started hot rodding them. And I'm thinking of some of the famous hot rodding guys that would have been around on that scene, like Wayne Charvel, Grover Jackson. And we've got a Charvel and a Jackson here. Yeah. We've got Kramer. We've got some of the ESP... kind of super Strat vibes. We've got the Jackson we've got is a Randy Rhoads Jackson, but you can kind of see, obviously we got the Gem, you know, Steve Vai kind of, I know this isn't the original color option that Steve had, but you know, again, that kind of was a real, started the whole Ibanez RG kind of thing. So the chicken and egg question was, did Fender start hot rodding their own guitars before other people started hot rodding them? Or I suspect not, to be honest with you.
No.
I suspect this was probably, I'm thinking of like Richie Sambora had that first
that's true.
kind of hot rodded Fender that I really remember with a Floyd on it and all the stars down the fret.
Presumably they could just mod their own without them. That was like the era when people started to be a bit DIY about it.
Yeah,
right?
well, look, why don't we start with the... let's start with the Charvel.
Okay.
I kind of feel like if I think of hot rodded Fenders, I think of Charvel as my sort of go-to thing.
Thank you, sir. Right.
And again, this particular one is a dual humbucker. You'll need to borrow my tremolo arm.
Oh yeah.
So players would have started to just take probably fairly regular Strats and just change the pickups in them to give them, you know, people like Seymour Duncan would have been on the scene, and so you see a lot of those kind of JB loaded ones. But then again, players would start to mess around with their fretboards, so you might go for like a flatter radius fretboard. And of course, another guy who was on the scene at that time would have been Floyd Rose. Kahler was the other kind of trem system that you sometimes saw, but Floyd Rose was probably the dominant one. So let's just get some sounds here.
Sure.
And John has basically done an amazing job of going through the sort of back catalogue of 80s cheese, which
Absolute
now isn't
cheese.
really cheese, is it?
It's great
just like,
cheese.
It's my favourite cheese.
Tasteful cheese.
It is.
Yeah.
What's your favourite cheese, John?
Oh man, back in the day, probably cheddar. I'm a simple man.
You
cheddar.
are cheddar.
Yeah.
You just full. So what's the 80s?
Non-pretentious cheese.
What is the 80s equivalent of cheddar?
Somerset Brie.
Like you just need like Simple Man's 80s rock. What would that have been?
White Snake, right? Probably.
White Snake? Maybe. What you're talking about?
Well, Bon Jovi. Everyone likes cheddar. Everyone likes Bon Jovi.
Fine.
Right?
So we're going Bon Jovi is the cheddar of the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, my favourite. I'm more of a blue cheese. So I like a bit of Roquefort or Gorgonzola or something like that.
Aldi.
So who would have been that sort of? Is that
Motley
more?
Crue.
No, I don't think it's Motley Crue. I think it's more sophisticated than
Extreme?
that. Extreme.
Yeah.
That's the Nuno of cheese.
Could be.
The new no cheese.
Yeah.
Comment below your cheese to 80s metal comparisons, please. This will be the funniest comment section we've had for ages. Right, so pedals wise, Dynacomp, Phase 90, EQ, but let's just first and foremost see why did every kind of touring guitar player at that time, JCM 800 with the tube scream in the front of it. Let's just see kind of, let's get our basic. I'm going to unscoop you for the time being and just go everything at like 1 or 2 o'clock, and then see what happens if we start to scoop and see how much gain's in the amp and see what you like.
Here we go. G chord. Not on.
Not on.
I mean, that's completely usable already.
It's totally usable. Yeah. Let's scoop and see what happens.
Okay.
Honestly, I kind of think the JCM 800 is, again, it's like the forgotten god of amplifiers.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, people often give Marshall a bit of flack because their EQ doesn't really do much a lot of the time, but you get it for the sound of the amp, not to tweak it and make it change.
I think the worst thing Marshall have ever done in the history of Marshall is suggest that you can use this with other cabs other than a 4x12.
It
like
works.
you know,
It
you
works.
take one of the worst sounding amplifiers I ever owned was a 1x12 JCM 900 combo. And yet you could take the same basic amplifier and put it into a 4x12 and it would sound immense. Right. Okay, so do you know what? I think you're right. I think it's slightly more pleasant to listen to in isolation with a slightly more scooped vibe.
And what mics are going through so people know on the other end?
57 on one side, Royer 121. Don't know if that was a real typical kind of 80s mic to mic up a driven guitar tone with, but we always record with 2 mics and then sort of get a vibe. And I know Pete was, we're going to blend in a little bit of room mic as well, so you never know. Let's just see, gain-wise, how much is in here before we tube screamer it. So here's, you can see it's on 3 out of 10 at the moment. Anything below 3 goes a bit wimpy and weedy, doesn't it? Bit flubby on the bass end if you go too much.
Yeah, I love it though.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's
so
dirty.
So
I quite like it up to about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But when we were listening to some of the tracks just before this, we were going, there's not actually as much gain on that track as you maybe think there.
Yeah. I think it
should be.
Because it's so scooped, you hear that as like gain and distortion.
Right.
Or I do maybe, I think. But yeah, there isn't much, so maybe I do.
So that's our basic. I mean, one of the other reasons why I like the gain slightly lower on here is it does give John the option to just play a little softer and get a clean tone.
Yeah.
But Tube Screamer, or in this case, if you're not familiar, by the way, from what I understand of the history of the Tube Screamer, Maxon, I believe, were the actual manufacturer that made the original Tube Screamers for Ibanez. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but it's something like that. So as Ibanez have kind of gone on and perhaps moved production of the Tube Screamer elsewhere and components change over time, Maxon, I think, sort of claimed to have that kind of original circuitry, still Japanese made. Anyway, so let's see what this sounds like. And again, hopefully on overhead cam, you can see where my settings are. So let's, without Tube Screamer, it's like this.
Yes, it's a bit more like chewy around the edge of the notes.
I was about to say a little bit more compression without actually having the compressor on board.
Yeah.
The GE7, I'm sure you see these on all sorts of guitar players' boards. I've kind of dialed in a sort of a mid-humpy, I guess probably not dissimilar to a Tube Screamer type EQ curve with a bit of extra oomph here, but let's just try that. So keep playing.
Yeah, So that's definitely got a bit more like fuzz around the outside of it.
Yeah, it's more nasally as well, isn't it? And probably a bit more dry. But you can obviously EQ that differently. Yeah. So that's what we're kind of using for our driven front end tone. The compressor, let's just try it with the compressor as well. Not making a huge difference to the sort of the gain sound. I think that's more something we might go for that real classic 80s.
Yeah. For lead stuff, be great.
Yeah, and then Phaser does the Van. Do you want to do the Van Halen thing? Why not just show it off?
Yeah, add the Tube Screamer. Fun.
Now, I quite like this end of the spectrum as well, because again, I sort of feel like, the 80s was that it was totally okay to have too much chorus, too much delay, and too much reverb, and that's good, right? So let's just get some. I want to do that Whitesnake
chimey stuff,
chimey thing. So,
right. So back on the gem.
He's going gem. Now this is Adrian Vandenberg kind of Whitesnake era. Basically playing all the songs that Bernie Marsden wrote, but kind of once it was all remastered and redone in the US, kind of with that different band, it sort of took on a much more, I guess, polished 80s kind of vibe to it. And I think most people think of like, Is This Love and Here I Go Again and all that kind of stuff as very much that kind of Coverdale, Vandenberg kind of era.
And for all the prog guys, I thought it was the sound of Pull Me Under by Dream Theater, but that's a 90s track. But it did. This sound, like people use it now. It's that chimey position 2 Strat glassy thing. So.
I think that's almost still probably got a little bit too much breakup on it. Can we go, say, position 4 and do it again? And I'll put the compressor on as well, just to see if we can take a little bit of the edge off the amp. But
equally enjoyable, but yeah.
Honestly, it's like, you weren't even born, were you?
No.
I mean, it's just
96. It translates, how old's that sound though? What, 40? No, older than 40 years now. No, it's
not quite.
Almost 40 years.
It's almost, some of those tracks, I mean, if you go early 80s, I think a lot of what we're doing is sort of mid 80s, I suppose. But if you went early 80s, 40 years old. That's nuts, right? I mean, that's just like...
Still good though.
It's forever ago, but it's still so cool. And that's why I was saying before, I kind of feel like back then everybody even knew like who the guitar player was.
Yeah, that's very true.
And like now it feels like if I sort of said
who's the guitar player in so and so band, you'd be like, oh, I actually don't know.
I mean, I'm not even sure who are the sort of the metal.
Matt Bellamy. Wow, I'm just trying to think of
Muse,
popular
but
guitarists.
even Muse. I mean, crikey, Muse must be 20 years old now.
Yeah, they are.
I'm talking about really current, guys who are in their 20s who are in a band. I don't know. I mean, and it's sort
just
of
session players that I can think of, really. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm going to get absolutely shot down now. But if you sort of said pop metal-y kind of band like 60 Seconds of Summer, who's the guitar player in that band?
I had a massive 5 Seconds of Summer fanboy phase. That is Luke Hemmings.
Is it? Did I call them 60
I'm going to get
Seconds of
crucified
Summer?
for it,
I
mate.
meant 5 Seconds of Summer.
They're a great band. Steel Panther actually like 5 Seconds of Summer.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't like them.
Oh, no, I fully, but anyway.
I'm sort of going, so you do know who
so I know the members of them, but
maybe
like
that's
other
my
pop,
bad.
like real pop bands, there aren't many guitar, instrumentalists even.
I wouldn't know who Bring Me Horizon's guitar player is.
Lee
Malia.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact that he had a signature guitar. So I know the signature guitar. So, but I kind of feel like maybe that's my bad, and maybe it's just because I'm old now. But in the 80s, seemed like almost everybody knew who every guitar player in every band was.
Yeah.
Did
Satriani chart? Did he get into the charts? Can you remember?
That's a great shout. Another one for the comments section, another one for the fan. I mean, Surfing with the Alien as an album would absolutely have charted.
Yeah.
But whether or not any of the singles did, I doubt it.
Right.
I doubt
That'd be interesting. Anyway.
Instrumental stuff never charts, does it? Or rarely charts.
Other than that, Brian Eno, maybe, from all the people who still listen to Brian Eno. Yeah.
Play, right, seeing as you've got the Steve Vai.
Yes.
Now, again, Steve Vai, crazy guitar player, he cut his teeth, if that is even a thing, doing all the Zappa stuff, and then was doing the sort of David Lee Roth sort of stuff, and then obviously had an incredible solo career. Let's see. I'm convinced he would have been using JCM 800s. I know when we had Steve to do clinics with us, and the Carvin deal Carvin had just ceased trading or whatever, so that he was straight back, just want 2 JCM 800 stacks, please.
Right.
So come on then, you're going to give us some iconic
like a liquidy lead sound.
Yeah, so we're going to want probably a lot of
do a chorus on. There we go.
Off? Okay.
Yeah. Actually, no, leave it on. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm not the biggest Steve Vai aficionado there is, but it doesn't sound like it's enough gain for me.
Nah, more. Yeah.
It needs more, doesn't it?
Preamp.
Yeah, I would just go more. And
let's go to 6. We haven't gone there yet.
Okay, and the delay sound didn't sound. Anyway, like I might leave the delay. Well, we'll see.
Maybe like more mix because it's pretty subtle at the minute. Yeah. Oh.
I think it might have been a faster delay than that.
Yeah, go on.
Go on, try it now.
Okay.
It's very
so
so much sustain there because you've got so much gain on it, but that's cool.
Yeah. Randy Rhoads.
Let's
do it.
I mean, another one of the taken far too young, but still in his in his relatively short life,
Where is this going?
Had a huge impact on guitar players. Obviously worked with Grover Jackson to do the guitar, do his own signature guitar. That must have been one of the first, radically different shaped signature guitars ever, mustn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this will be interesting for sure. I feel like a classical player right now.
Yeah. If you play sitting down with any kind of a V, it shoves the whole thing quite far to your left.
The only band I can think that have played Vs or guitarists in the last 20 years is like Alexi Laiho from Children of Bodom. Another one taken very early, actually.
Yeah.
And Bullet for My Valentine. That was my
We'll revisit this
Bullet for My
one
Valentine.
day for you, John, and we'll go
I've got them
90s, ready. John.
Whenever you want the 2000s new metal Kerrang Scuzz TV era of
Scuzz TV.
Yeah, Scuzz
TV.
Yeah.
Man.
Can you do Limp Bizkit, or is that pre that kind of?
I need a bar for that. Wes Borland. Do a whole video on Wes Borland. Yeah.
Isn't he doing something again, Wes Borland?
He's with Danny Elfman. I swear he's been playing with Danny Elfman recently.
He's still been playing with Limp Bizkit.
Oh yeah. I think we've just. I was going to see him in September.
Do you see all the chibs and stuff about where they do they don't do Sunburst, they do Fred Durst, don't they? And it's just his face on a Les Paul. Oh. Anyway, right, come on then.
Okay.
I don't even know. We're right. So we're doing. What are we doing? Crazy Train or something like that?
Yeah, it's got to be, hasn't it?
Was he? I know Zakk Wylde, big JCM 800 guy, but I don't know. I guess Randy Rhoads probably was prior to him.
Yeah, I reckon LP and this and Marshall. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You get me a sound.
Hello.
Too much. What are you in?
Drop C sharp.
Drop C sharp.
Drop C sharp.
Tuning of
Sean Connery's
favourite tuning. Oh, that's a genius one. C sharp.
I think more gain.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
That
good.
sounds great.
Does this look right, Oz? I have no idea.
It's okay. It looks fine.
Do you want a strap? Do you want a strap?
I feel like I want to do that.
That looks worse.
Get him a strap.
Is it left
we've
knee?
got-
No, it's got to be this
It's
one.
got to be
hasn't
there,
it?
yeah. But I mean, that looks fine. I mean, we
We've got to
can't.
like hold it up.
Just have it over your shoulders and just like.
There we go.
This is not going to help unless you stand up, John.
That'll be alright. It's just to have a bit of sort of.
Oh, do you know what?
He's just staying. He's going for it.
Okay. That's so hard doing like this. Oh, no, it's out of tune. That'll do.
I was trying to get that on a. If you get that sort of slap back double track delay kind of vibe
Got
to
you,
it,
yeah.
but I sort of. I don't know, I didn't really have it nailed in until you stopped playing.
Good fun.
Now,
So awkward doing this, but yeah.
you nailed that. I mean, again,
Thanks,
another
mate.
classic kind of 80s,
Yeah.
80s rock tone. I feel like I need to hand you this guitar that I'm sitting
Cool.
with now because, and again, I don't know what era he started using them, but it's got that sort of Adrian Smith, Iron Maiden kind of vibe
Definitely.
to it.
Okay, here we go. The Trooper, Iron Maiden, classic riff. Let's go. There we
Would
go.
I be right in saying that was probably more scooped even than that, or not really?
I can't record that one from.
He's going
Let's
to go.
check.
He's having a listen.
With-
Intermission. I just want to also say that, of course, the brand that should be in this shootout roundup but hasn't arrived in the UK yet, but we're very excited about it, is BC Rich.
Yes.
So we will invite John back for an entire day of BC Riching.
Stranger
at
Things,
some point
Metallica-ing.
in the next few weeks. Right. Sorry. So we think more mid-range to do the Trooper.
and
so
not that
let's-
much fizz, like more
I'm
rolled
gonna-
off.
Oh, let's just try using the G7 then, and maybe. Okay.
Back the preamp. What's presence on? Try like 4. Yeah.
Needs more gain. More gain.
Maybe don't harm you.
Yeah.
Okay. Did it need? Let me try that double track thing again, just to sort of give you. Okay.
It's fun.
Do the riff. Do the
Play
riff.
the harmony.
Huh?
Play the harmony.
Oh, off. No.
That sounds great.
It does sound.
Yeah.
I'm really. I don't know what it was about JCM 800. For quite a few years, we had the bigger JCM 800 in the studio. And I don't know, we just never really loved it. But I can't think why, because this thing sounds monster.
I want to get one. Yeah.
So we got player series from Fender with the Floyd and the HSS. We've looked at the Gem. We've looked at the Charvel. Now, I think we've got to go. I mean,
Flames.
this is full.
Fire emojis. All right.
There's no middle ground here, is it? This will be full Marmite.
Dinner jazz. Yeah.
No, what I mean is like this is just 80s. This is not sort of. I kind of feel like most of the other guitars that we've tried so far have kind of transcended other eras. Okay, so Kramer, another kind of. Was it late 70s? Probably was late 70s, but kind of, really became famous, I think, in the 80s. Most recently has become part of the portfolio of brands that Gibson own, and obviously Gibson are putting a lot of money and time and energy into sort of relaunching it. The Beretta is quite a simplistic sort of guitar. You look at called the hockey stick headstock, and you're probably thinking of an Eddie Van Halen kind of vibe. But people like Richie Sambora had a signature Kramer, I think, back in the early Jovi days. But what have we got here? Just a really simple...
Yeah, Seymour Duncan bridge. We've got a D-tuner, which is nice.
I don't know if that was an original fit. I think that's a more modern... So I think it would just have a normal...
I love it. I think it's really handy. I think every single like flat out 80s guitar should have a D-tuner because it's just perfect.
But Kramer did this series of the Berettas with different, like very much kind of 80s inspired hot rod graphics on them, and they've been really, really popular, which is kind of... I'm loving the fact that everybody's so open-minded to this kind of 80s-ness.
And it just feels like a dinky. Like in terms of just general vibe, and I love how they've got the Allen keys around the back, which is just
the best invention ever.
Because locking nuts do need.
Well, look, let's hear some sort of, again. Who are you going to play this time?
I'm going for Motley Crue.
Motley Crue, Mick Mars.
That's the guy.
Let's do it again. What's that sound? I would say that's again going back more
Super
scoopy
scoops,
again, isn't
definitely scoops. Yeah.
Have we done any Nuno Bettencourt yet? Is that where we started? I feel like there's going to be a list as long as your arm of guitar players that people will moan that we didn't. So not moan, but
we did Nuno. We did it when we were doing sometimes.
Right. So we've got Tube Screamer into a slightly more scooped, martially vibe, and just some reverb at the moment.
Here we go.
Chorus?
Why not? It's not in the track, but let's go. That's fun. Yeah.
And just for people that have not seen how a D-tuner works on a Floyd, it's very clever.
So this is an EVH D-tuner apparently.
Well, they invented it.
Oh, did not know that. There we go.
Apparently,
every day's a school day.
Yes, Eddie Van Halen, invented this idea of a...
So there's one on his Frankenstrat, classically. When I think of a D-tuner, I think of that guitar. And there's another video where we did an EVH amp where we talk about it a bit more, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, back to D-tuner. So this is it not detuned. So it's essentially just a, I don't know what you call it, a lug that you would pull backwards. So in standard, this is an E. And if you just pull it back like that, that noise it doesn't come out. That's just, Then we're in drop D. So super
cool
simple.
idea,
Yeah, so, you don't have to go through the faff of like getting your Allen key out and all that. So it's just, boom, it's there. So, yeah, really great feature.
Right, come on. I feel like
standard.
Just purely and simply because this guitar is so cool looking. We need another. We've done some Van Halen. Did you get any Paul Gilbert?
Oh, don't. Okay. Phase 90.
Phase 90. No chorus, presumably. Maybe a bit of delay.
Tube Screamer to help me out a bit. Yeah.
Do it, baby.
All right. As much as I'll do of Scarified, the rest is well on.
I got to be honest with you. Back in the... again, this would have been probably early 90s. In fact, Mr. Big had just had the massive, what was their real ballady kind of, To Be With You. They just had that hit maybe within a year or two. Paul Gilbert did an Ibanez clinic, and we had to hire the biggest theatre in Guildford. Like we had something like 800 people came to see this Paul Gilbert masterclass thing, and people were in the audience. You have to, my memory may be slightly sketchy now because of how long it was, but people in the audience were shouting out songs for Paul Gilbert to play. And was there one called Shotgun or something? An old Racer X?
Oh, a Racer X one. My Racer X is pretty patchy, to be honest. Don't know.
But it would, whatever the song was, and he was like, "Hang on a second, I haven't played this for a while. Let me just." And then he literally just ripped it out the bag, and you're just like, and he had his entire rig for that gig was his Ibanez Paul Gilbert guitar into a Laney GH100, I think.
Oh, the Laney days.
And a Boss DD3.
Yeah.
That was his whole...
He'll make anything sound good, that guy. He's absolutely phenomenal. I know he's gone sort of like Blues Gilbert now, but he's still got it.
Crazy.
He's phenomenal.
Still crazy. Fine. So we got one more guitar, another kind of...
LTD. Ooh.
LTD. So I kind of feel like so LTD didn't exist in the 80s. This is ESP certainly did, but the American kind of mid-price LTD thing didn't come around till the 90s. And I'm not massively convinced. I think most people, when you think of ESP and you think of who are the iconic artists, you think of Metallica. And that's, again, not really... I'm not sure they were using ESP stuff that long ago. So the again, I'm going to challenge you here. The guy that I think was, again, the virtuoso kind of ESP, first ESP kind of guitar god was George Lynch.
Oh man, okay.
Sorry. So do you know any of the sort of Dokken, or you just...
Bear with me, I'll do a quick Spotify. Bear with.
It's the nut just needs to be, you could finger tighten the nut. Things that it's okay to say in a guitar video that maybe in other conversations
That's a very good
wouldn't
video.
be.
That'd go off.
You can finger tighten the nuts if you want to. Okay, I think this could be the last one as Digital John in his Atari mode attempts to be George Lynch as we attempt to do a song from Dokken. What's it called again? We don't even know.
No, we don't even know it. We've just Spotified it and we're going to absolutely butcher it.
So yes, thank you so much for watching. Links will be below for all of the products we've used in this video. I think most of the guitars are, you know, some sort of mid-price point kind of thing. Certainly the Marshall is quite reasonably affordable. Sounds amazing. But yes, please take my advice. If you're going to buy an amplifier like this, put it into a big guitar cabinet because it's going to sound awesome. John, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you again.
Thank you, sir. I think it's about time that we finally give a bandana to Mr. Lee Anderton.
I'm being inducted. I'm being inducted into the Hall of...
Here's one I made earlier. I've always wanted to say.
I've even got the same colour. Do you know what? This is amazing. I don't think I've won a... I've got it wrong here. There's like a little bit hanging down the front. I can tell. It's like...
Oh, it's fine.
It's like...
Bang it up.
This is your dad in a bandana as opposed to actually anybody remotely cool. Wow.
It looks fantastic.
This will definitely make me play better. Count us in.
1, 2, 3.
Possibly the best way we could have ended the video.
I was trying to find the fret and well...